I'm allergic to the word luxury because I think that a corporate aircraft is really a business tool. It's a time machine.
At this private jet showroom in London's Mayfair, business is good.
Listen, if you want the real thing, this is the real thing, okay? This is an Airbus 319. This is the same airplane that EasyJet uses. So just from a comparison of size, this is the interior of what they call a VIP airline.
Glamorous it may be, but popular it's not.
Listen, there's no question everybody is very curious about how it's affecting the environment, what we're doing about it, and always people ask about it. But just like you have a car to take your kids to school, go shopping at the grocery store, you go to the office, it's a requirement you need to conduct your life day to day.
Right next door to Steve's showroom, protesters have gathered outside a Park Lane hotel hosting a conference of private jet investors from around the world.
There's a lot of things to do with private jets that are infuriating. It's selfish, if not criminal, of a small minority and elite to be using such luxuries as private jets.
Private jet travel is by far the most polluting way to get around, with emissions per passenger at least 10 times worse than flying commercially. And it's taking off, with the number of jets up 133% since the year 2000. So, who's flying? Americans are the world's biggest private jet users, but Britain is top in Europe. Taylor Swift has been criticised for owning two. Bill Gates reportedly pays millions of dollars a year offsetting his private jet emissions, and closer to home, both the Prime Minister and the King have a penchant for private flights. So how does the industry answer its critics? I've been invited inside to find out.
We're creating certain emissions by burning fossil fuels, and we need to take steps to meet net zero.
This panel is discussing whether sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF, can deal with the sector's emissions.
To go from today to 2050, we need to make our aircrafts more efficient.
Chemically identical to normal jet fuel, SAF is made from either crops like corn, waste material, or expensively produced hydrogen. All of these have persistent cost and environmental questions hanging over them. So, should the sector be relying on it? You talk about SAFs, what are known as sustainable aviation fuels. Aren't they just a bit of a fiction at the moment in terms of being genuinely sustainable?
So I wouldn't call them a fiction. There's seven pathways right now to sustainable aviation fuel. We have hundreds of facilities looking to come online to start creating sustainable aviation fuel.
Given that there isn't very much sustainable aviation fuel out there, wouldn't it be better to use it for the most good, i.e. in commercial airliners for the most people, rather than the handful that you carry?
So, you know what, I don't disagree. I think we need it for all, right? We don't need it for one sector over the other.
Matt Finch also spoke on the panel. He's from an environmental think tank. Matt, how credible do you think it is that this sector, which is some of the highest emissions sort of per person, can truly make a journey to net zero?
Can the sector do it? Yes, if it wants to. Have I seen any indication that the sector wants to? Unfortunately not, no. If the sector doesn't move fast enough, it will be regulated out of existence.
And that is something that the industry fears. Amsterdam Schiphol Airport has suggested it might ban private jets. How worried are you that regulation is going to drive your business out?
I'm worried because of a lot of these decisions and discussions are completely irrational. Because business aviation is 7% of the market, 2% of the emissions. It's not just rich people's toys. Yeah? So business aviation will be used mainly for the reason of time efficiency, being fast from destination to destination, flying where others don't fly. Medical flights are in it. So to ban that would be completely ridiculous. Yeah?
There's a few things in there that make my jaw drop. I mean, you say it's irrational. The fact is that for every passenger you carry, you are 10 to 14 times the greenhouse gas emissions of conventional flying. That's why the regulators are onto you, and there seems to be some rationality in that.
Yeah, I think every gram CO2 should be count equal to the climate.
Well, surely it's per person, that matters.
Yeah, no, I think it's not. This discussion is not fair, because at the end of the day, every gram CO2 counts for the same to the climate.
This year, for the first time, conference organisers invited critics to speak, including Todd Smith, a former airline pilot who now campaigns about the environmental damage from flying.
Private jet use represents the pinnacle of injustice, given that flying is the fastest way to fry the planet. A private jet user is only comparable then to an astronaut.
But this business represents a fraction of a percent of our carbon emissions, of all the global warming potential that we're delivering. Is it fair to be targeting them so hard?
Climate justice is about making flying fairer for everybody. 77% of the UK population wouldn't need to change their flying habits at all if private jet users, first-class travellers and frequent flyers did their part.
Back at Steve's showroom, he says attacking the industry will do little for the climate.
If you really want to get to who's the culprit in the world, China's 30% contribution, cows are 15%. Between China and the cows, it's almost 50% of the problem of the world. You can stop every single airplane in the world, every car in the UK, and you wouldn't move the needle at all.
But to many, this is more an issue of fairness. And as the climate crisis is increasingly demanding tough choices from all of us, these super polluting, super rich jet setters are on the defensive. And you can see why.